Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making something fun. It's a Funfetti white layer cake, and we're just going to make the 2 layers, and then I'm going to leave it up to you to fill and frost as you wish. You can do whatever you want with it, and you might see a recipe coming up that uses the Funfetti layers. So I have had some requests for a white layer cake, so not yellow, and that means it uses just the egg whites. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and it uses a different method, and I've used this before. It's known as the 2-stage method, and I'll show you why. So it's sort of a lot of fun. Now, before we get started, I'd like you to click that notification button so you can see all my videos and all my tips and become a subscriber. You must become a subscriber because I really love when you come into my kitchen. All right, let's get started. So there's a few things that we need to do in order to get our mise en place together. Number one, and it's usually always number one, preheat your oven. So we're preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and make sure you do that about 15 minutes, 20 minutes in advance. All ovens are different to come up to temperature. Now I have 2 9-inch round cake pans, and I have sprayed them with nonstick cooking spray. I have cut out a parchment circle, put that down, sprayed it again, and floured it and dumped the excess out. I have a great video if you want to learn how to do that. That's your insurance that your cake will always, guaranteed, come out of your pan. And that is an incredible tip that I can give to you. So watch that video, how to get your cakes out of pans and how to prep your pans, because it's very, very important. All right, so this is the 2-stage method. The first thing we do, and it's very different than the creaming method. All right, we're going to take 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and we're actually going to put it into our mixing bowl, electric mixing bowl. All right, we're just going to get that in there. And we're going to put all our dry ingredients in here. I have 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I have a tablespoon and a teaspoon of baking powder. So 1 tablespoon plus a teaspoon. So that's 4 teaspoons. That's a lot of rising power. We like that. And then I have 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. That all goes together. And that's very different, right, than the creaming method, which usually starts with softened butter and sugar in the electric mixing bowl. And that's it. So right now, you can use your paddle to mix this on low speed, because you really want to get your salt and your baking powder evenly distributed so you don't have any holes. You want an even texture, tiny little holes in your cake and a nice, beautiful crumb. But to make sure I get everything evenly blended, I'm going to use a whisk. So I'm whisking this up. And you really just want to whisk everything until the sugar's incorporated, the baking powder and the salt is incorporated. All right, only takes a second or two. If you want to do it with the paddle, do it with the paddle. If you want to do it with your hands, do it with your hands. No problem. Everything works. All right, now we're going to add, believe it or not, 1.5 sticks of softened butter into the flour mixture. Yeah, this is a little different than you've seen me do before. I have used it on occasion. And it's known as the 2-stage method, and it's creates an extremely tender cake. That's because the butter is going in with the dry ingredients. So when the butter goes in here, it coats, the fat coats the gluten strands and the strands of the flour. That is what creates structure and also toughness in a cake. So if you coat the gluten strands with fat, they can't sort of join up together and create that network of fibers that creates toughness. So you end up with a very tender, delicious cake. So before we even process that, I'm going to get our liquid ingredients ready. In here, and I used a large measuring cup because anything with a spout so you can pour, it doesn't have to be a measuring cup. I have 5 egg whites, and they must only be the egg white. And that's what's going to keep our cake very white and pure. Very nice. So then we're going to add 1 cup of milk. I used whole milk. If you don't want to use whole milk, you can use any type of milk you want. Oat milk, anything you want. 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Make sure it's pure vanilla extract. And then you're going to whisk it up, just to mix it up. And it's called the 2-stage method because the liquids are added in 2 stages. A little one time, and then you add the other half. So we're going to take our paddle attachment, and we're going to start, since our mise en place is all ready. So on low speed, you want to get this butter not totally incorporated, but the butter's going to have make little bits, all right? And it will coat the strands of flour, the gluten strands, and they're actually not gluten yet. Remember, wheat flour only forms gluten when water or a water-based ingredient's been added to it. So it will coat any gluten that forms once we add our liquid ingredients. But now we're coating the flour, those strands, with this fat. And that's what's going to make it so luscious and beautiful. All right. And you don't have to do it for that long. It doesn't look impressive. There's little baby boo-boo clumps. That's it. That's all there is. That's all she wrote. All right, very easy. And it almost looks like a dry cake mix. You know, like if you ever bought a dry cake mix in the store. I've never done that. I really never do that. So see, it's just sort of clumpy, but it's still very dry. All right. Nothing wrong with the cake mix, but I just like the way it tastes from scratch. All right, now we start adding our liquid ingredients. So add a little at a time. Let them incorporate, little at a time. Little at a time. And remember, the flour's been coated with the fat. So that's your secret ingredient to keeping it being tender, tender cake. Keep going. And I'm going to add it now. You're supposed to add it in 2 stages. I added it in a little bit more than that because I just did it more gradually. But you can add half and then the other half. All right. And now at this point, I just want to mix this until it's blended. Sometimes I just go high really quick and then down. All right. So I want to make sure it's completely blended in. All right. You see that? Sort of a thick batter. So it makes a thick batter. And I'm going to show you what it looks like because remember, I'm never done. Chef Gail is never done mixing because when you use an electric mixer, you still have to do just a little bit with a rubber spatula because there's that little indentation in your bowl and things get stuck in there, dry ingredients, you know, and you want to make it homogeneously blended. So, all right, so let's get everything off the paddle. And then I'm going to go around just to make sure nothing is stuck. You see that? That's a lovely batter. It looks a little different than a creaming method batter. In my opinion, I think. A little bit. Now, this is the funfetti part, folks. Get it? Funfetti, folks? I have half a cup of any color sprinkles you want. Mine are just multicolored because I want to make sort of a fun layer cake because I just want to give a little, you know, oomph, a little zhuzh to my white cake layer. So I'm just going to sprinkle this in, half a cup. If you don't want to do this, just make a plain white cake. No problem. You do what you want to do. I'm doing this just to give it a little something special. All right, so I'm just going to fold these in. Just going to fold them in, and they should add a lot of color, a little pizzazz to our white cake. All right, so when they're evenly distributed, remember, we don't want to overmix our cake batter, any type of cake batter, because you don't want to develop gluten, even though we have a little secret going on here with our fat coating our flour. So we're going to take our pans, and I always have a rubber spatula nearby because this is how I'm going to spread my batter and make it smooth so there's no humps or lumps. All right, let me move that. And just eyeball it. I'm just going to put half in here and half in here. And we have all that baking powder, so it's going to rise. Make sure you do use a 9-inch cake pan. A lot of people will say to me, you know, the batter overflowed in the pan because all I had was an 8-inch cake pan, and that's why. So you use too much batter for too small a pan, and you're going to end up with overflow, and then you're going to have to clean your oven. And I do not envy anyone that has to do that because I do not like to clean my oven. I will do anything in my power not to clean my oven. I hate it. I hate clean. I love my oven. I just don't like cleaning it. All right. So, see what I have? I have a small one. You can use any size you want. You can even use like a butter knife if you want. But this is the secret to not getting any lumps and bumps. So watch. This is going to be like the hand on a clock. So I'm just going to spread it out a little bit. And then I'm going to go around, just sort of push it around. Look at all those sprinkles. I love it. So colorful. And this, so the clock hand goes in one direction. So just take one hand. I'm pushing the cake pan to go one way counterclockwise, and then I'm pushing the offset spatula to go clockwise. And I'm just sort of spreading, almost like I'm spreading frosting, but if you notice, as I go around, I'm putting the round edge against the side of the pan. It spreads the batter, and it evens it out, so there's going to be no humps and bumps and lumps. Look how perfect that is. So I'm going to do the same with this one. So now I'm going to bake my layers for 25 to 30 minutes or until a small sharp knife or a cake tester inserted into the center of both cakes comes out clean. So my Funfetti white cake layers look awesome. They look like they're waiting for a party to begin. And they're very hot right now. They did need, in my oven anyway, 30 minutes, so 25 to 30 minutes. Make sure that cake tester or that little small sharp knife comes out clean, and it will sort of spring back when you push it down on it. You're going to let it cool to barely warm and then flip them out on either a plate or a cake circle and frost them and fill them any way you want for any fun occasion so you can have a little funfetti in your life. I hope you become a subscriber. Till next time.